Welcome back to Clay&Color. This week I made a simple but fun little project, an egg holder from clay. I'm really happy with how it turned out. In this video I'll show you two ways to make one: wheel throwing and hand building. Even if you've never done pottery before, don't worry, I'll guide you step by step. Part 1. Wheel throwing. Let's start with throwing on the wheel. I'm using some reclaimed clay I had from before. The first step is wedging, or kneading the clay. This removes air bubbles and makes the clay smooth and even. If your clay is fresh from the package, you might not need to wedge it. Once it feels ready, I shape it into a cone and throw it firmly onto the center of the wheel. I add water, then start the wheel. Throwing helps improve the texture of the clay and makes it easier to work with. The hardest part for beginners is centering the clay. It needs to spin evenly without wobbling. This takes practice, and I've failed many times too. So if you're new, don't be frustrated. Everyone starts there. A common mistake is using too much water. The clay gets soft and collapses. When that happens, you often have to start over. But with practice, you'll begin to feel what the clay needs. Now I separate a small piece from the top. I leave the rest as a base to support the shape. I press my finger into the center and slowly shape it into a cup. To check the size, you can measure it or just use a real egg like I do. If the egg sits in nicely and comes out easily, it's perfect. Part 2. Hand building. Now let's try hand building. Start with a ball of clay, about the size of an egg. Roll it until smooth. Then press your thumb into the center to make a hole. Use your fingers to gently pinch and shape the walls. This is called the pinch pot technique. Again, use an egg to check the size as you go. An average egg cup is around 6 to 7 centimeters tall. Let your clay dry for a few days until it's leather hard. That means dry but still firm enough to trim. I use a knife to cut the top into a cracked eggshell shape because I think it's cute. You can smooth the surface with a trimming cloth or sandpaper, or leave it a bit rough for a handmade feel. Part 3. Drying and first firing. Bisque. Once the shape is done, we let it dry completely, usually about 14 days. Then it goes into the kiln for the first firing, called a bisque-firing. This hardens the clay and gets it ready for glazing. Part 4. Glazing. Now it's time to decorate and glaze it. I'm using two contrast colors, one to write my name and one for the overall base glaze. I start with Mayco Firecracker to sign my name. This underglaze is not food safe, so I apply it underneath the main glaze. I use a fine brush for the writing, then wait for it to dry completely. Next, I brush on Mayco Vanilla Dip. This glaze is food safe and doesn't need a clear top coat. Always check the label. Not all glazes are the same. You can apply 1 to 3 coats, depending on the look you want. Make sure each coat dries before adding the next. Part 5. Final firing and results. Once glazing is done, it goes into the kiln for the second firing, the glaze firing, and then we wait for the magic to happen. Here's the final result: a hand-built egg cup, fired and glazed. Final thoughts? Between the two methods, I personally prefer the hand-built version. Throwing creates a perfect round shape, but the neck can't be too thin or it might collapse. You have to trim it carefully after throwing. With hand building, you can control the shape and thickness from the start. You can even add tiny feet or decorations to make it unique. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time on Clay&Color. Bye!